In these uncertain economic times, it's easy to be worried about protecting your wealth, your hard-earned savings, and your family's financial future. Plunging interest rates, the devaluating dollar, and political unrest constantly threaten what you have worked hard to earn and all that you own. That's why now it's more important than ever to protect your assets and have the money you need to make your dreams come true. Welcome to the Global Wealth Fortress Report with successful global entrepreneur and wealth preservation expert Joel Nagel. Joel's helped thousands of people just like you protect what you have so that you can make even more and make your every dream come true. So, sit back and enjoy Joel Nagel's offshore expert advice on how you can live the good life at a great price, where the sun never sets on your financial fortress.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Global Wealth Fortress Report. I'm Joel Nagel and I'm coming to you live from the Blue Casita based on the beautiful Caribbean Sea in San Pedro, Ambergris Caye, Belize. My very special guest today is Rachel Jensen, who is the Vice President of Sales for ECI Development. Rachel, thanks for joining me today on today's program.
Oh, thank you, Joel. It's lovely to be here in Belize, so thank you.
Yeah, it's great. I'm very happy. I hadn't been here in the last 6 months with everything going on in the world, so it's really nice to get around and talk to some folks and catch up with what they've been doing. Now, you live here. You're a full-time resident, and I'd like to start by asking you to tell our viewers your story, how you came here to Belize.
Sure. So it was really unintentional, honestly, but it was probably the best thing that happened. When I was in college, I was going through the pre-med route, planning to be a dermatologist, and ended up in college going down to Nicaragua on a medical mission trip. And loved Nicaragua. It was my first time in Central America. I was taking Spanish in school, so it was neat to be able to speak Spanish and also be able to practice the pre-med that I was learning. Ended up just really loving my time down there. Went back to school and realized I didn't want to pursue a career in medicine, wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and ended up getting an internship with a development company in Central America. So I moved down to Nicaragua a couple of weeks out of college, not really sure what to expecting it just to be 3 months because I did have the Peace Corps lined up afterwards, but ended up not taking the position with the Peace Corps, staying with the development company, ECI Development, and now I'm here in Belize as a result.
8 years later.
8 years later, that's right.
Now, ECI itself is a regional company. It's got different locations. You mentioned Nicaragua. How's that been working for a company? I mean, you're based here in Belize, but you're selling and being projects that are all over. Why don't you talk about that for a second?
I love it. It's fantastic. I personally really enjoy traveling, and what I think is really neat to see is that these countries, although it's branded as Central America, are very, very different. And because we're serving many different people, it's neat to be able to offer different products to different people depending on what they're looking for. You know, I live on a Caribbean island in Belize. I understand a Caribbean island isn't for everybody. We have the Pacific beaches. We have the highlands of Panama, which is a cooler climate. So being able to work for a diverse company that really understands that not everybody wants the same thing is very refreshing. And I personally love it as well because I get to travel to these different places and chat with different people and really identify what they're looking for. And then we really help mold that into something that everyone else is looking for and build products based on what people are interested in. So it's very neat.
You mentioned just a few of them. Give us just a little bit more about the communities so people can understand that better.
Sure. So we'll start in Belize since we are here in Belize. Here in the country, we're on Ambergris Caye. We have 4 projects. I'm going to start with our over-the-water bungalows. So we have tiny homes. We all know tiny homes is not even a trend right now. It's really a lifestyle. People want to reduce their carbon footprint. They want to be able to live more economically. So we are building over-the-water tiny homes here on Ambergris Caye. In addition to that, we've partnered with the Best Western for rental, or if you want to live there as well, you could. Gardens community. In addition to that, we have beachfront branded Marriott residences and resort. Really amazing opportunity for folks who are looking to get into the investment or residential lifestyle market here. And then in addition, we have canal front condos called Hacienda. Canal front, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, really affordable, under $200,000. But these 4 different projects are vastly different from each other. And so again, offering the consumer the sort of choice that they may be looking for when they're coming to the country. in addition to Belize, we have property in Nicaragua. It's a stunning 2,500 acre property, 3.5 miles of Pacific beachfront. It has 2 of the best surf breaks in Latin America, so we get a lot of surfers who are coming down. We have a golf community there as well. But within Grand Pacifica, we have about 10 different neighborhoods, depending on what somebody is looking for. Bringing the Ava community, again, tiny home concept right there by the beach. Beachfront condominiums under $130,000, tiny homes. We have beachfront estate lots. If you want to build something for your family and your kids, you're able to do that. Property in Costa Rica, not yet developed. And then a brand new property that we just launched earlier this year called Freedom Village in Panama. And this project I'm personally excited for because it's in the highlands, so it's a cooler climate. And there we'll be doing tiny homes as well, condos, home sites for custom homes. So again, just depending on what people are looking for. But I mean, that's just the beginning. We're currently looking for future acquisitions as well, vineyard estates, and also more highland property. So it's growing. We're continuing to grow, which is always exciting.
Well, that was a whirlwind.
Yeah.
I know you're from New York City. You're used to doing things really quickly.
Joel, you told me we only had 10 minutes here, so
Exactly.
I got to consolidate.
All right, so back to Ambergris Caye, where
Yes.
we are. Talk to our viewers a little bit about what it's really like to live here. You mentioned it's a small town feeling.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that small town in addition to maybe a little bit about the cost of living, what you
Sure.
like, what you don't like, maybe just touch on some personal things for a moment.
Sure. So Ambergris Caye, it's small. It's about 30,000 people. I came from the suburbs of Manhattan, where I was able to be in the city in a couple of minutes. And there's the hustle bustle there. And I grew up with parents who worked in the city, and there was always just that fast sort of mentality. So coming out to an island where, people will stop in the middle of the street to talk to somebody else, and people will walk slowly. It definitely took a little bit of adjusting, but it wasn't difficult. It was something that we just needed to realize, all right, slow down a little bit, relax, have patience, and everything will be okay. So I've really been enjoying it here. It's been about 8 years since I've been on the island, and the one thing that I learned is every now and again you do get island fever. You do need to get off the island. It's easy enough to do so with the little planes that are going back and forth or the boats going to the mainland. But I just really appreciate it and the simplicity of life here, and it really does have that community feel, which for me is something I was looking for when I was moving outside of the country. I was moving by myself. I didn't have any family moving with me, so I wanted a place that felt safe, that felt like home, where I could walk the streets if I wanted by myself. I can go for my jogs, I can exercise, whatever. And I've really found that here, and I think that's really what draws a lot of people to this island, is the sense of community. And you have people who come down once on a vacation, and then they end up being repeat tourists because they've made friends here, and you are walking the same streets as the other expats or tourists or locals, and you have that real community sense here. So I really like it. I think the one thing that I sometimes wish for would be a Target or a place where everything was in one place, because right now it's a little bit of a treasure hunt when trying to get errands done. You're going to this store for your vegetables, and this place for the meat, and then this place, you saw that they had the avocado that you wanted, but now they don't have it, so you have to try another place. So you just make an adventure out of it, and I think if you go into it with that mentality, it'll be good. And you mentioned the cost of living, and you can live as expensively here as you want. You can live as a tourist, and when tourists are here, they're going to nice places. A lot of them are going to nice places. You can get lunch for $20 US, you get dinner for $50 US, and you could make that a habit and do that every day. But most of us who are living here aren't going to all of the tourist places. We're on a budget, so we're looking for the places we can get big lunches for $5 US, and we can rent a bike instead of having a golf cart, or you can jump in a taxi cab if needed. So there are definitely ways to keep your expenses low if you want to. Otherwise, you can blow your budget quite easily, but it just depends on what you're willing to do.
Great. Now, I know the last 6 months, the coronavirus has affected the whole world, Belize and San Pedro as well. Talk a little bit about what you've been through here personally.
Sure. So this island is the tourism mecca for the country. It sees about 70% of the tourism revenue for the entire country here on this little island. So when we went from from being busy, from carts all around and tourists, to nothing or to very minimal activity, it was a little eerie at first. But we'd be driving down the street and there would be nobody. You wouldn't see any golf carts, you wouldn't see anybody on the street, and it just made you take a step back and really realize the importance of tourism and people coming out to the country. But what I realized at the end of the day is that this place really is a community. There were so many efforts to provide food for people who weren't able to eat. There were food banks, there were food pantries, there were fundraisers that were going on and are still going on because businesses are just starting to reopen. But I went back to the States during this time, and what I realized is that we didn't have that same sense of community when we were in the States. Here, you were able to get involved if you wanted to volunteer, if you wanted to volunteer time or money, or just help out generally, you could do that a lot easier here. And so it was neat to see the community really come together from that regard. And we're in October now when we're seeing that places are just starting to reopen, tourism is just starting up again. So I'm excited to see the places begin to flourish and business owners continue to open and serve clients, which is really what they do best down here.
Well, it seems like on a lot of the questions you come back to the word community. It seems like it's a really strong part of what it's like to live and be here.
Yes.
I know that's why you've been here for 8 years and why people come back over and over again. So on that note, Rachel, I want to really thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us here on the Global Wealth Fortress Report. Until next time, I want to wish you health, I want to wish you happiness, and a wealth that can't be taken by others. See you next time. Goodbye.
Thanks for joining Joel Nagel and the Global Wealth Fortress Report, a whole new approach to asset protection and estate planning, so that now you can live the good life at a great price, where the sun never sets on your financial fortress.